Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed and we are exploring two kinds of games that people play. The first one is around belief, which involves convincing people that you know what you're talking about. So manipulating the images and beliefs of others, as well as operating through your own personal beliefs about what's good, what's worth doing, and whatever field you are trying to claim you are an expert in. So the game of belief. Right? That's the one we see most people playing in our society. And on the other hand, we are learning about the noblest game, the great game. The game in the text, as we read, is consecrated to the gods. So some sort of immortal game, or game dealing with eternal ideas. And by ideas, we don't mean concepts, we mean things that we can perceive through the eye of the soul. So two different realms, one in the realm of shadows, giving the appearance through your physical senses of expertise. The realm of imitation, imitating the appearance of others. The realm of interpretation, projecting what isn't there and leaving out what is. And claiming if it seems true to you or it seems true to me, then that's as true as anything else. It's all relative to the interpreter. And the other game sums up in a different realm, the realm of eternal truth or aspects of reality. The game of understanding. So we call it being Hellenic or philodianoia, the love of understanding. In that realm, the realm of eternal beings, we can perceive models or standards for reality. Standards and models that'll be true for any species, any culture, any part of history, any planet, at any time, in any galaxy, in any multiverse. That's the significance of understanding. It can apprehend. Now, the Greek word is eidos, which means to behold the aspects of pure mind. And the Greek word for the sense that we are using and we are awakening through the game of understanding, ousia, the capacity of mind to turn around and know itself. Another way of talking about that is separating the soul from the physical body, because we're not perceiving through the physical senses, we're perceiving through the spirit. So we could call it the spiritual game or the nature of spirituality. We could also call it yoga, because all yoga means method, the method to yoke or join. So all yogas have, whether or not they stress it, all yogas have at its essence the awakening of this perception of eternal models, or separating of the soul from the body. And where we are in the text is looking at how different traditions make sense of that experience. Because there are some traditions that, yogas or spiritual traditions, and we've defined both, hooray for us, just then, what spirituality means and what yoga means. Now, some people say that these experiences you could call enlightenment, because it's an experience of, the pure light of intelligence. Or in the philosophy, we say the brilliant light of being. So it's enlightenment. You wake up to the truth of that higher level of reality, the model. Now, what some yogas or spiritual traditions claim is these experiences will burn your karma off. In perceiving the truth of reality, your false beliefs from the other game you've been playing since childhood and in previous reincarnations, your accumulated false beliefs that you've identified self and reality with, you burn it away in these experiences, burning off your karma. And if your experiences are profound enough, you can burn away your karma sufficiently to the point where you no longer have to reincarnate. So they call that escaping the cycle of life and death, escaping the cycle of reincarnation. So what makes what we are doing different? Well, the game of understanding. In the text, what we've been seeing is, hey, the people who have had these experiences, and some people claim to be enlightened, start a group or become a guru of this or that ashram or zendo or tradition, sometimes wear some robes and shave their head. It seems that they still have their problems. In fact, from the direct personal experiences of our characters in the book, and if you've had a chance to run into these cats, maybe from your own personal experiences, it seems that these enlightenment experiences not only don't remove the problems that we are here to address, they even tend to exacerbate those problems, giving them either titles or positions of authority or power over others, or even spiritual or psychic power to play out their problems in a greater way. So, what we have been learning through learning to read this book and reading about somebody who's a genuine philosopher, philodianoia, lover of understanding, is, well, we can understand why they might be having this problem. Perhaps because they haven't recognized the two kinds of games we can play as human beings, the two kinds of ways that we can apprehend reality through time. You could say these enlightenment experiences are outside of time, sure. But what we're looking at is, what do we do with those experiences? Because those experiences alone don't seem to help. I mean, they might help in the short term. They might wake you up to a higher game, or wake you up to higher levels of reality, or wake you up to a sixth sense you never even knew you had. The ousia, the sense that mind, the capacity of mind to turn around and know itself. But apart from that, well, how do you make sense of that experience? Through your A, beliefs, or B, through understanding. And if you want to choose B, what's that? What is the skill of understanding? That may lead us to those experiences where you can apprehend models that are eternal, that are principles, but also make sense of them accurately. So the analogy we've been using through the text is a surgeon. A surgeon might have to apprehend the model of the healthy body, but also understand its parts so that it can, well, do all the things that a surgeon does. Diagnose problems, prescribe treatments, decide whether or not to do surgery, provide aftercare for the surgery. And if surgery isn't what's going to benefit, maybe refer someone to another kind of expert who could help. All the things a believer in the other game can't do. They can't, all they can see is the shadow of that learning, knowledge, and expertise by looking at what it can physically do, this surgery or that surgery. What we've been saying, if all you can do is hammer, every problem seems like you address like a nail. And you can find your examples. Have you ever met somebody whose expertise is belief? How does a priest solve every problem? Give me money and say 10 Hail Marys. How does an evangelist solve every problem? Come to my church and say Jesus is king and sing Kumbaya, and then magically your problems will go away. Even Eastern spiritual traditions or yogas have this or that experience, and you'll burn away your karma, your psychic debt that you've accrued through your unjust actions in this life and in previous ones. So, what are we supposed to do if experience alone doesn't A, solve our problems, and B, develop actual knowledge and expertise? Well, that's the game. The game of, or option B game, understanding. Can we develop the skill of dialectic to reflect on what is the cause of our problems, our false beliefs about self and reality, and also, that's half of the game, purifying our false beliefs that are the root cause of our problems. Because as we've been seeing with Harry, beliefs are not neutral. We see through our beliefs, we think through our beliefs, and we function through our beliefs. So whatever karmic debt you may be accruing, or whatever unjust actions that you are engaging in, we can find at its root belief. Or if you're in the noble game, the great game, the best game in town, once freed, or as we free ourselves from our false beliefs about self and reality, we can be developing actual understanding about self and reality. We can call that being Hellenic. We can call that Platonic philosophy if you like. Or we might even say, well, actually, as we pointed out last time, a lot of these words are loaded. Hellenic, not so much, but Platonic philosophy has been taught in an incorrect way for lots and lots of years. Removing some of the key terms like self, mistranslating key terms like eidos. So how about and also the word philosophy itself has been treated in that other game like it's one belief among many. What kind of philosopher are you? Are you a Stoic philosopher or a Nietzschean No. Philosophy means love of wisdom, that direct apprehension and understanding of those eternal models. Just like you wouldn't say, what kind of surgeon are you? Are you the one that believes that the body has 6 arms or 8 arms? No. There's just one healthy body. That's just one model. Surgery isn't a matter of opinion or personal beliefs. It's not a manyness. So because of that, we might as well use a new word so we don't have to deal with all of those, deal with the accrued karma of those words, you could say. We have fun here. We make jokes here. Yes, so we don't have to deal with that accrued karma. We could just call it philodianoia, the new art, love of understanding. So that's where we are in the text. Also, so the 2 games, 2 worlds, one through belief that seeks to manipulate for your own personal physical gain, by giving the appearance of being an expert. So the conservatives, the capitalists, and the clergy of the world. We also have been looking at where science fits in this, because there is a kind of understanding, but only dealing with shadows, only dealing with physical parts. No apprehension of the whole, no care for the well-being of the whole, just tinker toy. seeing what happens if we knock things together or isolate specific parts in physical experiments. Sure, we might create a model or create a theory that we can never prove. We can never see the model itself. And we never ask the question, what are we tinkering with? As we smash atoms together or torture animals in labs, what are we doing? What are we tinkering with the parts of? So scientific belief that we currently teach in our education system, kind of shadow of understanding, still firmly in the realm of belief. Not the same kind of belief, and so we have done a little review of the different classes of beliefs that we can develop, therefore, a set of beliefs. Where do we put it on the board somewhere? A hierarchy of belief. Here we go. The scientific of the kinds of belief, it's up there because it does care about evidence and reason, but only in the physical world. Appearances, the realm of imitation, with no concern of the good. You can't physically, because the things that are most interesting and most meaningful for us to apprehend, the models of goodness, truth, justice, beauty, meaning, and all of the things that we use in understanding, whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, you can't physically put them in a test tube or bang them over the head with a hammer. So you never know whether or not you should be doing that thing that you are doing in science. There's no concern with the whole, so what are we doing? Blowing up our planet. Extinguishing our species. Right. How many AI data centers will we need to surveil people? How many drones do we need to bomb innocent children with? How many economists do we need to prop up a banking system and a money system that extracts and exploits human beings for the fun and profit of the most sick people in our society? Should we be doing that? The answer is no. But can we ever ask those questions in our current educational system? No. Scientific beliefs. And of course, supernatural beliefs can't be proven by evidence and reason. Can you prove Mary was a virgin? Nope. Prejudice, disproven by evidence and reason. But you could say to these two things, okay, hang on a second. I've met people who had supernatural beliefs and learned to reason. They learned that the circular logic of the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. Or learned to reason about these fairy tales. How big was Noah's Ark? How did they get all 10,000 species of caterpillars on that ark? What did the animals eat? So they learned to apply reason and they were able to overcome their supernatural beliefs. I've also met people who had prejudice, racism, let's say. But then when they experienced new evidence, perhaps they left their small town and they went to college and they actually met some black or brown or Asian people, whatever their racism happened to be from their family beliefs. They were able to change their mind. So while supernatural beliefs and prejudices can, in theory, be changed with evidence or reason, reason can change supernatural beliefs and evidence can change prejudices, or the combination of both. I mean, you can't have one without the other, really. You have to rationally reflect on the evidence for it to have effect. But for some people, that's not enough. And we saw this in the text. Reason alone, or evidence alone, is not sufficient enough to change your beliefs if you still think you need them. So the name for the class of belief that is the root cause of all human problems, that causes a loyalty to any one of these kinds of beliefs, in spite of, in the face of reason, evidence, or philosophy, recognizing that scientific beliefs is still beliefs and will not apprehend the good, and you are like a tinkering with the parts without asking the question of what you are tinkering with or whether or not you should be. So that's philosophy. So with evidence, reason, or an appeal to philosophy, if you are still tied to scientific beliefs, tied to supernatural beliefs, tied to prejudiced beliefs, we can say that there is something that you are holding on to or identifying with of those kinds of beliefs that you think are necessary. That's the pathologos. So the pathologos is a class of belief that's disproved by and opposed to any evidence and reason, as Harry's been demonstrating. It's unsuspected, and it's about self and reality. As we've been learning, reality, or ousia, mind knowing itself, is the model of all models. So all of those other eidos, or aspects that we want to apprehend, what is good, what is just, what is beautiful, what is knowledge, what is truth, what is goodness, what is unity, they are under the category of reality. So any false belief about self and those things of reality that we are unsuspected and identified with, that cause us to oppose evidence and reason and be blind to evidence and reason and not change our mind in the face of evidence and reason, that's the pathologos. So while all of these scientific, simple beliefs are just a category of scientific, I believe my science teacher, but I don't really care that much. I trust in them. I trust my mechanic. I don't know how my engine works, but if he says put the carburetor next to the gas plug, okay. So scientific beliefs, supernatural or prejudiced beliefs are of course causing of our problems. And underlying that, an allegiance to any one of those kinds, especially about the self and reality, that's the pathologos. So you could say the pathologos is the root cause of all problems, or beliefs themselves are the root cause of all human problems. There is one category of belief called axiomatic beliefs. That's a kind of this is different in that it is not trusting belief, but a trust in understanding temporarily to play the game. For example, if you don't accept the principle that all human problems are solvable, you cannot play that second game, play the B game, play the game of understanding. Why do philosophy on? Why address your problems if you are closed to the idea that you can solve problems and people can be made better, and you could be made better? Equally so, if you are closed to the idea that you can directly apprehend reality and those models of truth, beauty, justice, all of those non-physical things that have an effect on our physical world, causing beautiful things, causing harmonious patterns in reality, causing just or unjust activities, unjust if we deviate from the model. If you are closed to the idea that you could apprehend them directly with ousia, or that they are understandable, then you can't play the game. And there are axioms that we take for granted every day. For example, if you don't accept that if A equals B, if the stop sign in your driving test equals stop the car, and if C equals A, if the stop sign that you meet on the road is equal to the stop sign in your manual, your driver's manual, If A equals B and C equals A, then C will also equal B. Then this new stop sign you've never seen before, because you've just driven into this town, also means stop your car, because things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. You would never be able to drive your car. So there are certain axioms like that that are not provable in the physical world, but you need to trust them to play the game. Philosophy, of course, is the game where we directly apprehend them. So that is kind of a class of belief, but it's different because you're not ruled by belief. You are still ruled by that B term, understanding. The two games that we can play are A and B. A, belief, B, understanding. Axioms is a temporary trust and understanding to kick you off. So, technically it's a belief, but really it's not to be ruled by belief. So we could conclude that beliefs are the root cause of all human problems, and understanding is necessary to solve them, because you can use understanding to reflect on the specific personal beliefs you have that keep you trapped in the human problem, the pathologos, that keep you ignorant, keep you as an NPC, zombie, savage, primitive caveman, fighting against understanding, fighting against your own interests, thinking that anything different, a woman's shape or a brown color, is bad and scary, which might have kept us alive as cavemen before we had reason and reflection, logos and ousia, the two things we make use of in understanding, ousia and logos, self-reflection, especially on how we think, and logos to do so through rational, through reason, through a structure that's eternal. That's the dialectic. So before we had that, hey, fearing every single saber-toothed tiger and woolly mammoth or whatever outside of the cave may have been necessary for our survival, but whether it's the cavemen origins of belief and pathologos belief, or whether it's your own personal origins to survive the belief clan of your family, it's a kind of solution that no longer applies. So it's not a blame game, never any punishment, no need for shame. It's to become curious through B, which is our excellence, the art of the self-logos or art of the dialectic, to remove those false beliefs and perfect our understanding. So, this book's a goddamn banger, because we can fundamentally understand the root cause of all human problems, belief, and understand its excellence. And if we wanted to be even more specific in the classes of belief, we can do so as well, with scientific, supernatural, prejudice, pathologos, and the one that can lead us out, axiomatic. That is, to be open to the idea that problems are solvable and excellence is reachable. Wisdom, direct apprehension and understanding of reality, and of course, beyond even wisdom, its cause, or whatever it is that's experiencing the most profound experience, the self. Two classes of enlightenment. So that brings us to where we are. Hooray for us! And of course, because this is supposed to be apprehended yourself through understanding, can you make sense of it? Can you see how that works? Can you see it in the book? And can you test it in your own self-reflection? Ideally with friends, if you can find someone who is good enough, open-minded enough, intelligent enough to play this game, to become curious about themselves or their problems, can you play this game with them and test it for yourself? Now, I just got a Discord notice sure I don't miss my videos today. So I'm going to hit record. On that. And then make sure it's muted. And don't want to miss my videos today. Okay. Oh, I was supposed to have paused that, and I didn't. Oh well, who cares? So that brings us to where we are in the book. Let's get our characters out of the way. So, Aaliyah had the question about where does science fit between belief and understanding, because she doesn't care about the parts or parts of parts. And she hates that science is being used to destroy our planet and our species. Because she wants to know, hey, we're born into this. We're born here. What's it made of? What is it really? And you'll never be able to answer that with tinkering with the parts. You have to apprehend the whole. I'm not interested in how parts behave. I want to know what this is. So, that's so within this, what we are learning in the book about what's involved in this genuine understanding game is, again, not reason alone, but reason and questions. So if we're making use of our rational capacity, logos, and we're making use of our higher functioning of mind, open, curious, receptive self-reflection, we can say, well, while we are learning the art or the power of the logos with the dialectic, it's not going to mean to make two licks of a difference unless you are becoming pregnant with a question. A question that you can nurture and gestate and carry with you and build and hone up like a laser beam or polish up like a gem, because that will put you in the required sort of state of mind. And we've had lots of people who've come through this channel who think that philosophy is only about reasoning, and they haven't learnt the dialectic either. They think it's only about debate.
Perverts. Let's be honest, perverts.
Let's be honest,
I'm a
perverts.
debate pervert.
And I have an act.
And they're debate perverts. And what happens? As soon as they find the evidence or reason or the dialectic steps of questions and answers disprove their belief, they act like a twat. They act in an unjust way. The pigeon playing chess. Not only do they act in an unjust way, they think they're very clever and smart for being a troll, or lying about what they really think, or just leaving straight away. So the pigeon playing chess, the pigeon knocks over all the pieces, shits all over the board, and struts around like he's won the game. That's why in this game you need to be talking to good souls, people who seek wisdom and truth above all. Not people looking to play the knower role while they use debate to prove their beliefs or justify their beliefs. That keeps them as a zombie NPC, caveman, savage, violently opposing their own interests. Why can't I move this dot here? Oh, it's one of those magic dots. You can never have to cut it out with that. So that's why you have to start with someone who's genuinely interested in personal development, either in both surfacing their own false beliefs and patterns that cause them to be a jerk, to be the pigeon playing chess, and also to seek their highest states of mind the highest levels of reality, the highest experiences that are open to them, that are open to all of us who have usia, who have intelligence, and even to go beyond that to know what is having those experiences. What's the self? That's why you have to have a personally meaningful goal. Why go through the effort of learning to think if you've got no reason to? Why go through the effort and develop the courage and character to remove your false beliefs if you feel you have no need to? Hey, I like being a Mormon. They give me magic underpants and I can do soaking.
You can be a gooner.
And they say you can be a gooner so long as you're wearing the magic underpants and doing soaking. Gooners.
Be a reasonable gooner.
There should be a reason. Why give that up? So that's what we've been reading. Reason alone isn't sufficient to purge yourself of those false beliefs or elevate you to your highest states of self, states of mind, and functioning through understanding. You need to have a question, your own motivation. You can share that question with others because that's a quest and a questing party. To carry a question is to be on a quest. And hopefully you've been developing these questions through the book, carrying these questions as we read. Oh, and one more thing to review. Last time we talked about how these two fundamental ways of being, to think and feel and function and see through our interpretation, it's all relative to the interpreter, or our beliefs, A, or the B game, understanding, also applies to all human relationships. So in a loving relationship, Harry says, so even in the relationship between Harry and Aaliyah in the book, Harry thinks it's all about me forcing my beliefs about what a woman should be and what beauty should be and a woman's role and how a man and woman should relate. While she's from my family and my upbringing that goes all the way back to the cave, and she equally tries to manipulate her beliefs onto me, and we fight. That's what most relationships are based on. Beliefs. Whereas we, by learning to read this book and raising ourselves by reading it without interpretation to meet the mind of the author, we have come to see that, the ideal human relationships are on not personal beliefs, but on a transpersonal model or standard or ideal that we are both seeking through understanding and the dialectic. So every success we have, either in purifying our false beliefs or perfecting our understanding, we can share with our beloved. And they might even be able to facilitate that understanding and insight, and therefore practice our highest functioning that we can do in time, the facilitation of that development from ignorance to those higher states of being, mind and wisdom and self, to facilitate, or to use the cave analogy, to take people from the shadows of belief in the cave, in Plato's cave, up the journey out to the real world. So the cave analogy is the cave and the outside world. There are two aspects of that analogy. The outside world is often forgotten. So to help people through that journey, which is therefore the standard for all intelligent development, all souls who have reached the stage of intelligence and self-reflection, is our highest functioning. So if you are helping your beloved in her self-reflection, or she is helping you in yours, you can share your insights, you can share your understanding, and you can at the same time master the dialectic.
Win, 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 win.
It's win, 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 win.
It's a win-win-win. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. So, therefore, we can model in our most important and meaningful loving relationships the excellence of the soul and all intelligent life. Mirroring in our own relationship the journey of the self to come to know itself through this perfection and purification process. So if that's the nature of reality, self-reflecting into those models that are in pure mind, and then into its shadow, the physical world that we perceive the parts of in our physical senses, only to evolve, and Usia and Logos, so we can use that intelligence to reflect on that process and make that journey back up to know the self. Then in this relationship, we are mirroring the nature of reality. Not just reality, but ultimate reality, the self. So the self's journey through reality is mirrored in our ideal relationships. And the interesting thing is you only really have two options. You're either doing that, playing the good game, or you're in the crappy one, where it's a kind of battle between beliefs. And even if you win that battle, you're still going to have problems, because beliefs will always give you problems, because they're the cause of all human problems. And it would be an unjust world if they weren't. If you could just play out your ignorant beliefs without having any difficulty, you could claim to the divine, hey, there were no problems. How was I to know that beliefs were bad? So even if you do succeed in oppressing your partner, you will still face problems. So they're different. The two ways that we can be the cause of all human problems and the cause of our excellence is also expressed in our relationships. Two models of love. And notice, this one is a love of beliefs, or philodoxia, the same name that Socrates gives academic philosophy, love of opinions and beliefs. Philos means love, doxia, opinions. Hegel's opinions, Nazis' opinions, Nietzsche's opinions, whoever's opinions, Stoics' opinions, Jordy Peterson's opinions. Philodoxia, or a relationship bound by a shared love of understanding and genuine seeking of our shared transpersonal ideal, excellence. Well, relationship bound by a love of understanding, philodianoia. Hooray! So, now I'm outside. Fuck.
That's weird that you think that.
That's weird that I think that I'm outside. No.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Don't say that.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Jesus Christ, Emma, that's horrible to say. I'm a boy. Okay. So, the good game, a higher kind of fun, and maybe we can make sense of why it's called an activity consecrated to the gods, because it's eternal. The eternal principle. A shared transpersonal ideals and models. Homo ludens, you could call it, man the player. Now, Harry recognizes that he's not in that game, because he doesn't want to, he wants to earn money by manipulating others by appearing like an expert. And he says that's what everyone does. Even if the doctor or the lawyer doesn't convince people that they're an expert, they'll go broke. But he recognized, hang on a second, he was losing the argument. But even though he was losing the argument, he still wanted to go down with the ship. Even though it may not even be his beliefs, but some he inherited from his parents and upbringing, or learnt from his upbringing. And so he starts to get the early hints of a pregnancy or a question about his problems. Hey, actually, now that I think of it, my dad does that a lot. We used to argue a lot, and I'd always lose. Anyway, forget about that, says Harry the believer. What I mean is the best money goes to the convincers. If you can manipulate the beliefs and opinions of others and appear like an expert, the entire conservative party or right wing, the entire capitalist ruling class, the entire religious authorities of every single religion ever, then you'll get the money. And is that what it's about? Aaliyah says, hang on a second. Why do the capitalist conservatives and religious class never give two shits about hurting people? Why do they even seek to hurt people? Why is none of them addressing the injustices of the world? In other words, do they care whether or not they truly harm or benefit those they convince? And by the way, if you're appearing as a knower when you're just a believer, do the people you're convincing know that you don't know? Are you concealing that fact from them? And are you trying to benefit from that deception? Or the opposite of the dialectic? Following the logos, following the patterns and path of truth to truth that's universal and benefits all. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Whereas beliefs try to manipulate people through deception, lying, in order to fuck them over, extract the profit, extract the power, extract the religious authority to get the gold jets and the manipulation for other physical pleasures that the capitalist clergy and conservative class seek. And when I say conservative, I am very well aware that the establishment left are not actually progressives. They're not actually dialecticians. They're not actually lovers of understanding. They're also capitalists and followers of religion and act to conserve the systems in place, even if they call themselves Democrats. So very important for us to do both things. Understand the nature of human problems, but officially conservatism is the veneration and the group, the Pathologos party, but also understand the standard of excellence so we can demand that of the progressive party, or rationally speaking, every single politician, spiritual leader, or anyone who claims authority. Make sure they understand what they're talking about. And they can use that understanding to benefit not themselves, but the subject. So there we go. Do we vote on whether we want the surgeon who kills us because he hates black people? Or you get to vote, and if they get enough votes, then this year all of our doctors will be killing the patients? No. And why the fuck do we actually vote for, hey, for the next 4 years we'll have politicians who'll actively try and kill you, and they will kill you, and drop bombs on children, and take away all your healthcare, and starve you to death, and take it. You voted for it. Do we ever vote for pilots that crash the plane every time? Of course not. It's absurd. We need to understand the standard, and of course, universal principles that are universally applied to universally benefit is the standard. And that's the standard of understanding. Which reflects what we saw about the ideal relationships. Okay, Aaliyah points out, if you're an imitator, it's all disguises that you can wear, and you take advantage of those more ignorant than you, and in doing so, you seek your own benefit. Harry says, who cares? That's love. Where did we learn our model of excellence and beauty in relationships? Where do we learn about love? Because the study of love is what we do here. Philodainoia, love of understanding. To understand love. Do we teach it in schools? No. By the way, can you actually understand the true nature of love without surfacing, addressing, and removing your false, sick ideas of love? And this goes back to what Joseph said earlier in the book. If we can understand the nature and power of belief and how to remove the beliefs that cause human problems, we could teach it in school. We should teach it in school. We could add to that. Well, do that before morning tea time, and between morning tea and lunchtime, we could do the other thing. Perfect an understanding of these models. Currently, what are we doing? We are imitating the appearances from our earliest teachers, our parental figures, and of course, society and politicians and religious figures. But ultimately, it comes down to who played king priest of the house when you were 2, 3, 4, 5 years old? So it requires the kind of courage to reflect on our earliest teachers and see them for what they are, and compare them to our false images of our most beloved teachers. Requires a certain kind of courage, especially currently when it's not taught in school like it's supposed to be. But there's nothing else worth doing. It's the best game in town. So, convincing people of your own personal expertise to take advantage of those more ignorant than you. Hey, not only is that the entirety of capitalism and imperialism and religion and politics, it's also love. That's love, says Harry. Each cons the other for their own benefit. It's a civilized jungle game. So, you hear people say that, hey, it's a dog-eat-dog world, it's survival of the fittest. And in my idea of survival of the fittest is trying to win, hurt people. So it's this competitive view of reality. Notice in understanding and the dialectic, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
It's exactly the case. Because understanding benefits everyone. Everyone reading this book wins. We don't have to find people who read this book poorly so we can give them F's and D's so we can really enjoy our A+. We want everyone to play. Whereas all of those other sick games, conservatism, clergy, and capitalism, and all the other ones that are based on belief in injustice, think that their benefit requires other people to suffer. Sadism, competition. You can't have a trillionaire unless you have billions of people in poverty. Why? That's stupid. Why don't we just have wealth equality and have everyone live an exceptional life? Well, because we'd have to understand that that is sensible and rational. And we have to also address all of the beliefs that fight back against that. Helping everyone, but I'm racist. I don't want that. But I'm a billionaire. I like being able to exploit people through their poverty and fear of starvation. What else am I supposed to do with my $1 billion? So Harry thinks that's what love is. Survival of the fittest, in that sick, competitive sense. Now, as a quick aside, that idea of survival of the fittest doesn't mean those who can exploit people. It's the species that are most can adapt and harmonize with the other species, the members of their species, and the environment that survive. So, but we can see how believers don't care about actual facts, reason, and evidence. They want to reverse engineer it to support the beliefs. The sick beliefs about love, self, and reality that they already carry. So, Aaliyah, finding out her boyf has this sick idea of love, she says, hang on a second, what about this talk we're in? There's no lying and debate pervert bullshit
Debate pervert.
or pretending to be an expert. And that's a win-win. No one had to lose. I mean, you recognize that you're in a pattern from your childhood, a role that was acceptable within your family, a role that you could play with your dad to show him love, but that's a sick idea of love. From a sick parent who also was pretending to be an expert that you haven't looked at yet. So aside from you staying in an unnecessary role where you always fight a losing argument, we're not winning and losing, we're having fun. So isn't this the kind of game that Huizinga says when he says homo ludens, we are man the player? I'm not sure what I have to do to make it into something that would be considered consecrated to the gods, though. What does that mean? Joseph says, by that I mean, these dialogues test my approach to the ideas. So, that gives us an understanding of what we mean by gods. And we have this already represented. On the board. So crossing the green line from ignorance to wisdom. From, zoom in a little bit. From the physical world of appearances or the world of becoming, because everything's in change, to the world of shadows, we called it, to the higher game, the game of models that exist eternally in the realm of being, or mind knowing itself as pure intellect, or nous or ousia. Ousia over there. There's ousia. Capacity to know ourselves. Well, we can say that we can represent this journey, the human journey from the ignorance of personal beliefs to the wisdom of transpersonal knowing, as the hero's journey from the lesser realm to the realm of the gods. And because these are eternal, transpersonal, true paradigms and principles, we could say, well, that's the gods. They're not dudes in the sky fighting for their own personal beliefs. If anyone says that God wants you to do this and that, and they fight with the other gods and all this sort of bullshit from religion, they are just projecting their own personal beliefs and family dramas onto reality instead of reflecting on them. So it's a projection of their own false beliefs. What we actually mean by gods are these eternal principles. And therefore, Joseph is saying, hey, this dialogue that uses ousia and logos is a way of me testing my approach to those gods, those ideas. And in doing so, there's mine. And in doing so, it makes me, we don't like this word, but we'll use it here, makes me respect those ideas. I'm learning to honor the logos. Now, respect is a tricky word because it's usually meant in the same way gods are meant as often used as a projection of one's personal problems and beliefs. So too the word respect is often used as, hey, you're dissing me, bro, by wearing those colors. No, that's just your stupid belief that I can't wear red in your hood. That's not actually disrespect. But of course, that's the way we use it in our current society. So it's a tricky word that's often and best avoided. And you can test this yourself. If you ever watch a TV show or movie and you hear the word respect, count to 10. And see if a fight ensues. Because if you say, hey, my beliefs are the ultimate beliefs, you're disrespecting me by wearing shoes and no socks. You are saying, number one, my beliefs are absolute, which is fucking stupid. That's why people hate every religious group other than their own. How dare you say you are the chosen people? How dare you say that God promised you a genocide against the Palestinians 3,000 years ago? That's fucked. How dare you say you can't wear shoes without socks? So it's your personal beliefs are universal, and I should have known them, and because I don't know them, I'm bad, and because I'm bad, you get to insult me or beat me up. That's fucked. I'm not standing for that. I'm going to fight back against that injustice. The other person says, well, it's not injustice. It's disrespect. You're breaking the universal principle of justice. So I will fight for that. So both people fight, and it's fucking stupid. If they only reflected on the language that they were using, they would see that they are using a loaded term because it's a projection of personal beliefs. As is capitalism, as is religion, as is conservatism. So, whether it's disrespect or un-American or anti-Semitic or woke or any of these words that imply your own personal beliefs are universal and anyone who disobeys them is bad and therefore I get to be unjust or punish you. It's pretty fucked. But there we go. That's just a thing that is. Hacky writing, I say. That's why you always see it on soaps. Like those soap operas. Oh no, you kissed Barry, you disrespected me. No, you disrespected me. Fight, fight, fight. Thinking of Home and Away and stuff like that. Neighbours. Hacky soaps. So, Joseph's saying, hey, what do we mean by the game that's dedicated to the gods? Because these dialogues test our approach to the ideas and we're learning to honor them in the highest way. Which also means honoring the logos. Because the logos is the rational path to reach them, the dialectic, but also the logos is the inherent understandability of mind, the inherent logos within Usia. So we honor the logos by reflecting on these ideas in the best game, our highest functioning as human beings, and we honor it by reflecting on those peak experiences, those yoga or spiritual or non-physical experiences, to make sense of them and integrate them into our way of being. That would be true education in a rational society between morning tea time and lunchtime. You could go one step further and say after lunch we should apply that same honor to the logos to use those aspects of mind that we've understood as the stepping stones to reach what's beyond it, cross the purple line. So there's your curriculum for a rational school. Between 9 a.m. and morning tea time, dream analysis and so by the way, the dialectic plus the recognition that we have to develop questions about our problems and our excellence. So it's more of a giving birth sort of process. That's midwifery. So philosophical midwifery on our beliefs and morning tea time. And in the middle of the day, practice our dialogue, our dialectic on knowing. And then after that, reflect on those peak experiences, however we've had them, in dreams, in meditation, in yoga, however we had them. Even psychedelics. I mean, I guess that would depend on a lot of other things, like what age you are and stuff like that. Anyway, reflecting on our peak experiences to cross that purple line. So you could set up morning time, noon time, and afternoon time. You can stick other things in there. You could also do sports and cooking and math and all that sort of stuff. But what would be interesting is you'd be doing mathematics and all these other things with a recognition that you are participating in a shallower version of the dialectic. But that's talk for another day. back to the book. So that's what I mean. So human relationships aren't about defending and debating and justifying your beliefs. It's about testing your understanding on your highest states of mind, experiences, and insight into the self. That's honoring the logos. Aaliyah says, this is where we are, so let's bring in our characters. What? No. Aaliyah says, I knew someone who told me to love as if I were a goddess. That sounded great until I realized that for my lover to play his part, he would have to be a god himself. So a little bit of a insight or added guidance in that development of that ideal relationship we've been talking about. Now, that would also mean, as we explore in this kind of a way, while we might explore the gods by honoring the logos through our dialectic, we would be doing that while recognizing ultimately we are god or goddess, which is above the purple line. We're a self doing this. So exploring the gods from the perspective of God, singular, or exploring mind from the perspective of self, or exploring oneness from the perspective of one, goodness from the perspective of the good, truth from the perspective of the true self, or the logos from the perspective of the self-logos, to recognize that everything that you're exploring in this journey is all a self-learning about the self. Learning about the inherent intelligibility of the self. Well, that would be one hell of a relationship, wouldn't it? And no pun intended. One heaven of a relationship.
Spit on me.
Hey, well, maybe.
Goons of gooners.
We are talking about relationships. Don't be so much of a gooner.
Gooners.
Maybe. So, on the other hand, rhetoric covers all deception. So the dialectic versus rhetoric. Is philosophy like what Huizinga says, or is it rhetoric? Joseph says, I'm just a beginner to this game. I'm not yet a master midwife. I'm still learning the dialectic and how to use it most artfully to benefit people. Elias says, well, there's something you said that I can't go along with. You say the Platonic thought is a kind of map or model to follow, says Aaliyah. Let's say you follow it. Let's bring them in. Why not? Let's say you follow it, but then aren't you just modeling yourself to fit something you admire and look up to? Like, look here. Like here, suppose you succeed. What do you have? You've made yourself fit a model, that's all. You actually are only imitating because you train yourself to be like someone else, right? Is that all there is to us? Clay to be modeled this way and that? She wants to know what we really are. But what is this clay? What's the clay? Does this make sense to you? Joseph says, oops. Joseph says, you have an interesting way of expressing the problem of the self. Says Joseph to Aaliyah. It is not that I don't admire what you have done with yourself, what you've done with yourself since you went to Golden West and we went to the regular college in San Francisco. I knew you back when, as they say. And I like the change. But is all this dialoguing, this reading Plato and stuff, any more than a game? You could say the same thing about this channel and the people who've been following along with this channel. I'm not saying it's not good to challenge phony beliefs and get rid of them, but have you, Joseph, So we've got the two aspects of the game, reading Plato and stuff, and also challenging the phony beliefs. So reading Plato and stuff for understanding and dialectic, and along the way challenging phony beliefs and getting rid of them. There's our two things that we are here to do as human beings. Can't do one without the other. I'm not saying it's not good to challenge phony beliefs and get rid of them, but have you, Joseph, ever seen it work on real questions? Wait a minute. Real questions? What does that mean? Leah says, life and death issues, basic stuff. Like, what does this all mean? Have you ever heard a good answer to why you are here? Now, please don't play games with me. Have you found any good answers? I've seen you have a knack for asking questions, but do you have answers too? Well, I've heard ideas such as the soul is immortal and that it survives death and is reborn, reincarnation, and about the soul's journey, but... By God, says Harry, you've got him! He's dodging! We have won! Fuck you, Harry.
The hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Sick freaks.
You suck. You're ugly.
suck,
I'm gonna
Harry.
get your ass.
I'm gonna get your ass. Harry.
He's so far up his own ass.
Tell me about it, Emma. Aaliyah says, wait a minute, I'm not dueling, you dick. Sorry. All right, I'll lay off, Harry. I'm not dueling. I want an answer that makes sense right here and now. I don't care if it's from heaven or hell or Plato. It's got to make sense. Not in some next world, but right here. The answer has to make sense to me here, and it's got to include why we're talking right here. And it's got to make sense now. So forget heaven and hell and reincarnation, because they don't answer that problem. Of course it does. Of course it has to make sense here. I'm with you, says Joseph. Now we're in the karma part. Your life is your karma. Your present moment of existence is the result of all your present and past thoughts and feelings and deeds. They live on and fix your future and your future life. Enlightenment burns up your bad karma and makes your next reincarnation better. Or it may even, if it's deep enough, take you off the wheel of birth and death altogether. What does that sound like? That sounds like he's imitating or he's repeating something he's heard from. So the people who do try to address those sorts of questions, normally they talk in this way, if they're not philosophers. Or if they're regular Abrahamic religious, they say, just shut up. Say your prayers, give me your money, and then march to war for our profit and sadism. But you might have heard something like this before, haven't you? Maybe. Karma. We're here to address our karma. Our karmic debt. And it's enlightenment that burns off your bad karma. Aaliyah said, hang on a second. Leah says, deep enough? That, dear Joseph. Oh yeah, so he said, if your enlightenment experience is deep enough, it'll take you off the wheel of birth and death altogether. And Aaliyah says, hang on a second, deep enough? That, dear Joseph, is the problem. Because I know someone who was told that if she didn't continue with her practice, her experience of enlightenment wouldn't have any effect upon her everyday life. And that she might later even forget it. Experiences are not enough, and they fade in our memory, don't they? Harry says, Would I happen to know her? Yes, you know her. It's my niece, Amy. Well, Amy Nadine is the one to do it all. I Is Amy Nadine an anagram for something? I don't know who Amy Nadine is. I don't know why first and last name is needed. I don't know why it's repeated, so it must be some reason. Maybe she's a real person. Maybe she's a famous... I don't know. I don't know who she is. Amy Nadine. If we change the letters of Amy Nadine, it says my sardine. No, it doesn't.
You suck. You're ugly.
Hey,
That's weird that you think that.
that's weird that you think that. Come on.
They're secretly turned on by it.
That's what I'm suspecting.
You can be a gooner.
That's okay.
Goon.
So Amy Nadine is the one to do it all. I don't know what that means, but let's keep reading. Maybe you do. Does it mean my sardine? No, it doesn't. Enlightenment doesn't make any angels. I like that. And you ought to know that as well as me. It is through Amy that I've gotten to know several of these enlightened guys, and it just doesn't wipe out their bad karma. In fact, it's the other way around. It really shows that their karma is stronger than their enlightenment. Maybe that is true for everyone. I don't know, says Aaliyah. Anyway, why assume it will act out in the next world if it doesn't do a good job in this moment that you're in? So there's our standard. If we are looking for true personal development or spiritual enlightenment, it isn't something we have to cross our fingers and hope for in our next reincarnation. It better, I was going to swear. Fuck it, I'll swear. It better fucking work right here, right now, as well as have the effect, if it's eternal, must have the lasting effect beyond this lifetime, experience, universe, etc. Otherwise, it's hope and change, thoughts and prayers, kicking the can down the road, nonsense garbage that believers do. So, karma is stronger than their enlightenment. So, he is borrowing a term from Eastern spirituality. Can we retranslate it into actual understanding? Philodainoia. Well, if we're here to address the cause of our problems, our ignorance, our personal beliefs, does that make sense? Are our beliefs the result of our actions, our birth, our lifetimes? We get it from our childhood and what we do with our experiences in childhood to make sense of our early scenes, and then we live a life thinking and feeling and acting through those beliefs. And we have a choice: either continue in that realm of functioning through beliefs and never reflecting on them, continuing that life, which would therefore influence the way you die and the way how you would reincarnate if you haven't addressed your problem. Or we have the option to play the hero's journey.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Play the good game and develop understanding. So therefore, is this a more accurate understanding of our karmic debt, our pathologos beliefs, or the fundamental beliefs about self and reality that we carry with us, and we spend our lives entrenching ourselves in, becoming our mask and making it difficult to learn?
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to
fix, because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person, and it's because it feels like a much more core component
of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
So, stopping your personality maxing is what the cool kids say today. Everything is maxing today. Personality maxing. So, is that a better way of understanding the source of our problems, both in this lifetime and if we die having entrenched through debate bullshit?
I'm a debate pervert.
And I have
Our false images of self and reality, isn't that the sort of thing we would take with us through our reincarnation? And if karma is from a tradition where they aim for these experiences, these noose experiences through meditation, chanting, drugs, devotion, blah, 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 blah. And she's saying, hey, these experiences alone do not address your false beliefs or your karmic problems. Does that make sense? But look, what are they lacking? Understanding.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
They're off the perky, call them Kirky.
Do a poggers.
And they would do a poggers if they did understanding. So, what she's saying, yeah, experiences don't solve problems. That's two different things. You need understanding through the dialectic applied to your level of development. Philosophical midwifery is the specific skill and art of removing your pathologos beliefs that cause your problems, or burn your karmic debt. Midwifery and dream analysis. That's different from the other part of the game, using that freedom from those blocks to read the sorts of things we read, again, understanding, explore these ideas either yourself or with friends, with the help of your dreams, even better. The use of understanding to reach those peak experiences. And as Amy Nadine found out, experiences fade. So not only to reach those experiences, but to reflect on those experiences. And you had better be learning something, reading these books of Plato and Pierre Grimes and Homer that we read here, that give you the understanding, the material, the terminology, and the structure of dialectic reason reflection to make sense of those experiences. Otherwise, poof, they fade. And of course, the fourth function of dialectic would be to reflect on them, not just to integrate them, but to go beyond them. So in other words, there are 4 features of understanding that are all lacking from experience alone. So these people that you may have met, Aaliyah and Harry have met, Amy Nadine, whoever she is, has run into, Amy Nadine buying the sardines, that's a thing that I'm not going to say again because it was stupid.
They're a weirdo.
That's me, I'm weirdo.
Freaks.
So that's a bit harsh.
I'm going to get you. I'm
Well,
going
that's
to
even more
find you.
harsh.
And I'm going to get you.
I don't think you should get me. I tried my best. Because experience alone doesn't do any of those 4 things. Or enlightenment, which is the word that means that experience. Enlightenment is not the same as midwifery. And it also doesn't have those other 3 things that we mentioned as well. So, makes sense. Even if you wear a lovely orange robe, or you shave your head, or you chant Hare Krishna, or you blah, 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 blah. Do the Taoism thing, or the Buddhism thing, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. What matters is understanding. Says the book. Says us. Says hopefully we can understand why that's true. So, karma is stronger than enlightenment, or your pathologos is more powerful than your peak experiences. And anyone who's known anybody who has had a this or that experience, a heroic dose of mushrooms at the festival or whatever, and they suddenly awaken to a higher level of self or whatever, give them a month. They're back into their old pattern. Why? Karma, pathologos beliefs are stronger than peak experiences. Also, I'm not going to take this maybe in the next life bullshit. It has to work here. Harry says, "You got him again. Well done, darling. We wasted that thinker, understander." Fuck you, Harry.
That's weird that you think that.
It's weird that you think
If
that.
you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
I ate a steak.
No eating a steak. Joseph says, "And that is interesting, isn't it? You have a good way of expressing yourself, Aaliyah, not Harry. Well, understanding has helped me. Oh, there we go. I have been able to overcome some of my problems, and at least to some degree. And it was through understanding." It was through understanding that I gained real nice insight into the origins of a particular game I had been playing out in my life. Okay, so there are a bunch of clues in that statement. Number one, you can overcome some problems. Meaning, there is a list of problems you can address and overcome. It's the same question that Theaetetus had earlier, right? What was the question that Theaetetus had that made him pregnant? From which we gained the idea of philosophical midwifery. Socrates asked Theaetetus way back, same part 3. Is there a single knowledge that can unify the many knowledges? And all the way through our reading, here we go. Socrates asked Theaetetus to find a singular formula that grasps the many kind of knowledges. Sit down, Joseph. Into a single formula, a single knowledge. That state of mind, Socrates calls being philosophically pregnant. And we've been saying, hey, those two things we're here to do, address our beliefs, perfect our understanding, they have a structural similarity. So if we gain understanding or insight into one, we can equally apply it to the other to gain understanding and insight of the other. What does that mean? Hey, if Joseph is saying he has been gaining insight into many of his problems, would that mean that ultimately to free yourself from your karmic debt or your problems that you play out in this life and take with you into your next ones, we'd have to recognize that all of the individual many problems can be unified into a single problem. The single, well, as we can say, the many aspects of knowing, or gods, have as its source and goal as we move through them, the one self. Equally so, our many problems might have the false idea of self at its core. Maybe, again, you only really confirm that once you've, well, done it. Freed yourself from your karmic debt, affecting your life right here and right now, as well as perhaps freeing yourself from the chains of your problems right here and now and the prison of reincarnation, to quote Socrates from the Phaedo. And if you do, I ask you to join the Discord and share how it was, what it was like with other people who are on that journey. Write some books, maybe. We'll read them here. Because it's not a solo quest. We're all on the same quest. So, many to one problem once again. So we also know that there are also degrees In other words, it's not an all-at-once thing. While an enlightenment experience is an all-at-once thing, what we are seeing is what Joseph is going through to remove his problems isn't an all-at-once thing. Why is that? Because he's saying he has had degrees. Where is it? So, some of my problems, many to one, to some degree. So every talk that you have, you may get a deeper insight. Every dream that you reflect on, see more. So the analogy that I've heard from the author of this book, it's like a diamond. It's a multifaceted diamond. And to completely purify yourself from your problem, you've got to see every facet. So every dream gives you a new angle. Every midwife talk, every dream analysis talk, new angle. Which means if you're lucky enough to find yourself a Joseph or an Aaliyah in your life, you can move very quickly. Because you get a dream every night. Get 4 or 5 of them, actually. You can spend your time reading this sort of stuff. Every conversation is a potential insight into, well, there's only really 2 things we're after. Knowing self or reality, including beauty and justice and things, or getting rid of our problems. We want our happiness and we want to remove our sadness. We want our good and remove our bad. It's just that simple. So ultimately, that's the root of every single activity. We're either doing that directly or doing something we think we need to be good enough to do the real activity. Or we're doing our problems. Distractions, gossip, tangents, fighting, gossip, debate, bullshit. So we're either in our belief game A or our understanding B. And if we're in the good game B, well, we're either doing what Joseph said, testing our dialectic and our approach to the logos and the higher ideas, or we're gaining insight into our problem. So it's a relationship. It's not an all-at-once thing. Therefore, stay in the game. In the ups and downs, recognize that's part of the game. The ups, the insights, the understanding, the downs, the counterattacks, the beliefs trying to save themselves and distract you from the game. But stay in it. So, to a degree, and it happens through understanding. Once again, it's not enlightenment or experiences that remove your problems or karmic debt. It's understanding. That's why philo-dianoia, love of understanding, is the one true spiritual art, or the one true method of education. That's why we've been talking about doing it at schools. Through understanding, okay, nice insight into the origins. So, we need to get to the origin of a game, or the next part of a game. So there's a role. As we saw with Harry, there's a game that he's in. He's fighting a losing battle. Always. Often it's not even his beliefs. Well, it's something else that he's picked up from someone else. Going down with the ship. So there's a drama that we play out. Like there's a role within a game. So within the human drama in our dreams, daydreams, fantasies, and relationships. So if that's the case, if this game that we have been playing out in all our life is expressed in all possible ways, thoughts, daydreams, distractions, tangents, night dreams, fantasies, relationships, then that axiom that we said we need to start with, human problems are solvable and our goals are reachable, we can verify for ourselves because mind or self is communicating to us, therefore, in every possible way, either about our excellence or our problems. So, it's a game, meaning there are steps and roles and outcomes and ups and downs and a conclusion. I've been playing it out in my life and seeing the origin, our earliest teachers. This one.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
So what we've been seeing is reason alone isn't sufficient. We have to find who it is we've been imitating, which is going back to the origin of the belief. So reasoning can trace you back there, but you have to go back to that origin scene and address your earliest teachers. Rationally, this time. So, a lot in that paragraph. This book is so amazing and rich. You can reflect on that paragraph yourself and map it out into a dialectic or whatever you want to do with it. But what a fucking banger. Holy crap.
It's not being crazy. It's called reaching a higher sense of being.
Higher sense of being. We're not crazy.
Spit on me.
Emma.
Goon, 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 goon.
I think it's so awesome.
It is awesome. That's true. We'll not spit on you, Emma. Guna.
Goon, 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 goon.
I have a limited amount of buttons on my soundboard thing. So if you're getting tired of that same Guna joke, too bad. Aaliyah says, I'd like to hear about this. Many talks and reflections into the games you've been playing out to overcome your problems to different degrees, ultimately bringing them together into a oneness by stressing the origin of that root belief. I'd love to hear about it, says Emma. Emma. God damn it, Emma.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
No, it's not perfect.
I'm gonna get you. I don't know.
It's Aaliyah.
Fuck.
I would like to hear about that, says Aaliyah. I really would, because I'd love to know what you're talking about. But you know what I just thought of? That means understanding is stronger than karma. Hooray! And likely to be more permanent and deeper than some of the Enlightenment experiences I have heard about. And because of what we've just seen by looking at the 4 different things that understanding ultimately does, we can understand why that's the case. So understanding is better than, is stronger than karma. So just as enlightenment or your problems or beliefs or karma is stronger than enlightenment or experience, understanding is stronger than both. Understanding is stronger than karma because through understanding you can remove your false beliefs and the source of all human problems. It's also more permanent and deeper than enlightenment experiences because not only does understanding lead you to them, it allows you to make sense of them and integrate them. And we would add that final function to go beyond them. So, understanding is better than enlightenment and karma. Wow. I have even heard that some enlightenment experiences can be so shallow to have little effect on one's own life, can even be forgotten, unless of course one continues the practice of meditation and stuff. So it is worth having them as much as you can, but also the most important and deeper and lasting thing is understanding. Harry goes on. How are we for time? I'm already into the videos. Okay. Well, I am recording the video day, so that's okay. On Sundays, there's videos. But you have to watch them live, or I can record them. But we'll keep going because this is more important than silly videos. Where's Harry? Wouldn't it be a gas if your next reincarnation plays itself out only in terms of what you understand about yourself? Because the odds are that neither understanding nor enlightenment will get you very far. Sounds like someone who's a believer, right? Of the different cognitive functions that human beings can have access to, we've talked about A and B, A beliefs and B understanding being the ones that can happen through time. but we can expand it to the out of time or beyond time experiences of what's my pen being funny for? Of this enlightenment experience, and then the second class, the self. Someone's tied to beliefs might say, or is saying, understanding is rubbish, knowing or enlightenment is rubbish, and he isn't even aware of a higher state beyond even experience of the self. So those won't get you very far. Wisdom won't get you very far. Knowing and understanding, just beliefs, baby, says Harry. Fuck you, Harry.
That's insane. Like, you need help. There's no help, actually. You need a straitjacket.
You need a straitjacket, Harry.
They're completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
Crap. Junk.
It's crap. It's junk. So what if your next reincarnation plays itself only in terms of what you understand about yourself, because neither understanding or enlightenment gets you very far. Fuck you, Harry. Joseph says, now wait a minute. Let's go back to the point Aaliyah was making. Just state what you call the problem once more for me, please. Not you, Harry, Aaliyah.
You should know that you need to quit living your current life and go start a new one as a minor.
You go live in the mines. Harry, go live in the mines. Aaliyah, stay and talk with me. Says Joseph. Subtext. Aaliyah says, existence. Plain existence. The problem of my being here. At this very moment. That's what. And why are you here as well? Throw that in. Isn't that a banger question you could become impregnated with and nurture? Right now, you exist. Why? What is it? What are you supposed to do here? What are you made out of? What is this existence? Why right now? In this time, in this history, in this culture, in this family, in this part of human development, in this species. Why? And what is this thing? What? So all these sorts of questions. Good. So hers one is the problem of existence. Why are we here, right now? Oh, and also why are you here as well? She threw that in. And why do you call that a problem, Miss Aaliyah? Says Joseph. Now, am I right or wrong about this? Says Aaliyah. I've never heard nor read any satisfactory explanation for why I'm here. Sounds like Theaetetus. Oh, we didn't read Theaetetus's one. Let's read Theaetetus's one first, and then as we read Aaliyah's, we can look for. We'll see what happens. We'll see if there are any similarities. Theaetetus. What? Pregnant. Here we go. Theaetetus describes his state. Let's set Aaliyah down for a minute. No, not disappear. Theaetetus. Well, I assure you, Socrates, I have often set myself to study that problem. If there's a single knowledge that brings together all kinds of knowledges into one. When I heard the reports of the questions you ask, Socrates, but I cannot persuade myself that I can give any satisfactory solution. Or that anyone has ever stated in my hearing the sort of answer you require. And yet, I cannot get the question out of my mind. Socrates calls that state of mind being philosophically pregnant. Now, that's Theaetetus. Let's read what Aaliyah is saying. am I wrong? Am I right or wrong about this? I have never heard nor read any satisfactory explanation for why I'm here. You know? Me, personally, nor have I heard why I'm here rather than somewhere else at some other time. Ooh. Part of it too, hey? Now, Harry, don't tell me God put me here, because that doesn't answer why. So God may know, but why can't I? No. I just can't figure out why I can't get a simple answer to a simple question. She wants the sort of, what is it? The sorts of answers that would be satisfactory. A simple answer. Now, to me, it is obvious that you can't answer that. To me, it's obvious that if you can't answer that, then whatever you can answer can't be as interesting as what you can't answer. So if you can't answer that, why I'm here, why we're all here, and why in this part of time and stuff, if you can't answer that, then whatever you can answer can't be as interesting as that kind of thing that you can't answer. I guess that bugs me the most. She's bugged by it. It's strange to be in a place and not know why you're here, right? You talk about what we are doing, Philodynoia, is simply being rational. We are in a video game. Don't you want to know what we're supposed to do? Are you supposed to kill the Koopa Troopers or defeat Bowser and save the princess? Don't you want to know what buttons you can press? You got the A button and the B button. Belief and understanding. Or rather, we have Usia and Logos, capacity for self-reflection, and to do so via the Logos. Press the two buttons together, you got your power move, dialectic. To what end? I mean, that's what we have been developing, but again, it has to be your question. It has to be your question, and you have to be wanting a sufficient answer. And hopefully it's a kind of question that once you've got it, it has you. It'll bug you until you get it answered properly. It's strange to be in a place, we use video game analogies, in a game or place and not know why you're here, right? Now, I think Harry and I have the same question, only he ducks it by jumping into belief. Oh. But I can't duck it, so I'm stuck with it. Doesn't that wonderfully demonstrate how beliefs block our personal development? Instead of becoming pregnant with that kind of a question, believers pussy out and get cucked by some beliefs that they learnt from someone else growing up, that often go back thousands of years to other ignorant, stupid fucks. If it's belief, it's always bad. So instead of ducking that curiosity and that question and that being stung or impregnated by it, instead of jumping into it, they duck it. Harry says, "Well, dear Aaliyah, that's what faith is for." Fuck, Harry. Fuck you, Harry.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits, Harry. That's what faith is for. It ends that. Exactly. Right? What does every conservative say? Hey, let's address this problem. The gun problem. Oh, thoughts and prayers. That's the end of that. Hey, Obama, let's stop disgusting capitalist imperialism. Hope and change. Just have faith. That solves that. Hey, capitalists, how about stop murdering people en masse in the millions and billions for the Epstein sadistic billionaire class and your fucking disgusting trillions of dollars. No, trickle down. Have faith in trickle down. That solves that. So we see it everywhere. It's the root cause of all problems. Puts an end to our curiosity about the meaningful questions and demanding a sufficient kind of answer to solve it. Now, we use those things that happen that are destroying our brothers and sisters and destroying our planet and ending our species as an analogy for the more meaningful, the higher ones. Why are we here, ultimately? They're the ones we want to answer the most. Other ones, let's tick that box along the way. Why not save our species and put an end to injustice and unnecessary slaughter and suffering along the way? But can't do that unless you're addressing the root cause, which we're doing here. So good. That's what faith is for. Faith ends that. And that's all it has to end. What? And that's all it has to end. Now, Joseph, I do believe it's your time to turn the discussion over to me, isn't it? Right? He's just... What's happening in terms of the dialectic? Definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion? He said, let's define the idea. Right? Let's bring up the map of the dialectic we're learning. Surely we've got on the board a bunch of times. On the neat one. This is fine. Definition, the subject itself. How does it function? Demonstration, its divisions, and then from that, the conclusion. Joseph has said, can you define the question? She has. Harry jumps in and says, all right, that's the end. No need for anything else. Belief sabotages the dialectic. If dialectic is the understanding that's greater than enlightenment, more profound and deep and lasting than enlightenment, is the only thing that can solve our problems or burn the karmic debt. And it's these 4 steps. He jumped in to sabotage the whole lot. So to Harry, we say...
Like, literally, suck my dick, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Freaks.
Say you're a freak.
Whoa, lady, shut up, please.
Hey, don't tell her to shut up.
He's so far up his own ass.
Tell me about it. All right, calm
You
down.
know what? Suck my dick.
Oh, okay, then don't calm down. Do what you want.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
When I said do what you want, I don't mean that.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
All right, fair enough. So, sabotaging the whole process. He knows nothing of the dialectic, real philosophy, real philodianoia. So the first step, become curious about a question and define it. That's enough. The answer is faith. The answer is shut up. See? So we can see specifically how we are supposed to explore questions in the dialectic and philosophical midwifery. Dialectic applied to a particular person's question and level of development, the higher art. So what we should, it's only 4 things to remember and then practice. And we can see how beliefs are the root cause of our problems when it comes in and says, enough to that. Now it's my turn to talk. Shut up, woman, says Harry, and fuck you, Harry.
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever?
Exactly.
It's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
And just boring of it, says we say to Harry.
I'm gonna get you. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I am gonna get you.
And then RM's gonna get you. So take that. So, it's my turn to talk. Let's do some debate pervert bullshit, says the believer.
Weirdo.
And Joseph says, hey, pal, stop crowing, Harry. Crowing, peacocking, giving the appearance, being the loud. So, this is someone written, like someone from, the previous generation. So we would say, stop trying to be an alpha bro dickhead. They call it crowing. Stop crowing, Harry. Sure, Aaliyah's got a good one. And I'm not sure what that means, but I don't know how to answer her. Ooh. Stop trying to be a dick and interrupt like a whatever. Aaliyah says, I don't mean to be rude, Joseph, really, and I suspect that what you have learned may have helped you. I can see that, but I'm not sure it'll work for me. You see, your answers don't cover me. Are the answers you've heard answering your own questions? Like, do you still have questions like mine? Oh, we're near the end. Joseph says, well, I have them now. We can share our questions. This kind of relationship, not only are you exploring your own questions and putting words on them, following the dialectic, playing the game. It's like Warcraft when you meet up at the start of a instance or whatever, and you can say, oh, share quests with your friends. I had this quest, you can have it too. And then you both get the quest. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
That's what I said. I have the question now, says Joseph. Rather disturbing, isn't it? Says Aaliyah. Yes, says Joseph. Or maybe you're studying the wrong questions, says Aaliyah. I hear you, says Joseph. Then here comes Dick Face to ruin it for everyone.
Don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting, Harry. But here he is. Is Aaliyah right? Does your philosophy simply avoid the kinds of questions Aaliyah has? Can you answer her from the platonic basket of answers? Or do you only have questions? Well, that was Harry talking there. This guy. Boop, 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 boop. Joseph says, but I believe, or maybe hope is the better word for it, that there must be an answer to this. It's got to be there. Only right now, I have to admit, I haven't the faintest idea of where to look for it. It's got to be there, I just don't have it. So here we have a demonstration of a shared pregnancy. So if we ship these two together, which is cool, people talk for put them in a relationship, maybe that, maybe they can have a shared goal, that they can both work on through understanding that question. And maybe give birth to insight, understanding, and even express that in books like the one we're reading. Give birth to works that can be objects of reflection for humanity and others in this game for maybe thousands of years. Different kind of birth, hey? Also, we see the significance of that axiomatic belief, which is Harry saying, there's got to be a reachable truth about these questions of self and reality through logos and direct experience. In other words, the self-logos. Just as there's got to be a solution to problems. And it sounds like Joseph, by being in the game for a while, is starting to see why these necessary axioms or trust in the rationale. So it's not trust in belief, it's not belief to be ruled by belief or trusting believers. Prejudice, religious, pathologos and all that. Even scientific. It's to trust in the intelligibility and rulership of understanding. So what we saw, by the way, we're starting to see it, aren't we? Understanding is greater than enlightenment experiences. Understanding is greater than enlightenment experiences, therefore the self-logos is greater than the peak experiences human beings can have. Understanding is greater than karma. In other words, our pathologos is solvable. So we are starting to see why these axioms are true, but also we have Joseph demonstrating the significance of it. He doesn't have the answer to that logos yet. The logos answer to that question yet. But he's going to keep playing the game. He's going to stay in the relationship. He hasn't solved all his problems and completely addressed the root pathologos problem, but he's still playing the game. See the significance of this axiom? So we're seeing questions can be shared and the significance to follow the logos and address the pathologos, even at the start of the game. You don't want someone like Aaliyah giving up before she's jumped in, right? Considering how well she's doing. And she is a rare kind of a bird, isn't she? Not bird as in broad, but you get what I mean. Not a lot of people are open and interested and have a love of understanding and a good head, therefore, but also a good enough heart to be open to exploring this with other people in this kind of a way. So, Harry demonstrating this. I haven't got the fairness idea where to look. Sounds like he's got a question, but it's got to be there. Harry says, "Hold it! Aaliyah, it's my turn. Joseph." Fuck you, Harry.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits, Harry. So, Joseph, you do have a belief, don't you? Ha! Or maybe a prejudice. Ha ha ha! And you sure could use some help right now, couldn't you? But your friend, Sophronicus, or whatever his name is, isn't around. So you have to stand on your own, eh? Interesting. There's a kind of solitary and lonely existence for believers. Even among the group that they're chanting Kumbaya, they look across the church or the hall or the what do you call it? The mosque or the where do the Jews go? Can't remember. Whatever it is your belief tradition is, you look across and you find, well, that person's weird and I don't agree with that person. Everyone's beliefs, that's what we've been learning about beliefs. You get a whole bunch of inherited, well, you learn some beliefs that have been inherited through the generations, pulls garbage for Christians, etc. Interpretations of interpretations based on ignorance. And your job is to hermeneutics. Find a way of telling stories and doing interpretation to make your own personal beliefs save your whatever beliefs, Christian beliefs, MAGA beliefs, racist beliefs. But your personal beliefs and the story that you tell to save your inherited beliefs are unique to you. So this standing on your own, pulling yourself up from your own bootstraps, dog eat dog world is the nature of beliefs. Beliefs is in conflict with transpersonal, with the universal. It ends with one person standing atop a pile of dead bodies, be it Elon Musk or Rockefeller or Trump or Netanyahu, whoever the fuck. It's only and always conflict and division. There's no unity. So while we're seeing Aaliyah share a question about knowledge and playing a game of understanding with someone else, we have Harry saying, "You're on your own. It's dog eat dog. Even in a loving relationships, I gotta manipulate her and get what I want." So these principles that we've been talking about that are of the higher, above the green and purple line, oneness, goodness, truth, are all opposed, which are the terms used to describe that knowledge, the transpersonal, the universal, oneness, are opposed by believers. There's no oneness, it's just me against the world. There is no goodness, it's dog eat dog until the world collapses, till we've exploited enough people and we go extinct. There's no truth, it's just a matter of convincing people and getting one over on the ignorant for your own profit. So if the highest words to describe mind are truth, goodness, and oneness, we can see that belief, which opposes those things and therefore demonstrates the nature of the human condition currently, a war on mind. The war is being fought by believers like Harry against truth, oneness, and goodness, which are the words to describe the mind. Therefore, the human condition currently is a war on mind. A war that can only be won by us waking up to our true nature or our true activity, option B. So that war is option A. Option B is developing a love of understanding while also giving birth to questions about knowledge. So in this dialogue with three people, we are seeing the nature of the human condition, the two different sides, the two different ways that humans relate. We see the entirety of the human condition expressed in a simple three-person dialogue in a modern coffee shop called the Greek Corner Restaurant. What a fucking banger. Now, if our author can express the nature of the human condition in a drama or dialogue as perfectly as this, that is an object of human reflection that could last for thousands or millions of years, be shared among our galaxies and universes and multiverses, what must his vision be of the world, of humanity? Because it sounds like that's what's on the horizon for us if we choose option B, love of understanding. Once again, it's transpersonal. It's not just for him. We can all perceive the nature of the human condition, the nature of ourselves, and what's needed in that journey with that level of clarity that we can express it in such a fun way through our storytelling, our art. Isn't that amazing? Yes, I think it's amazing. So, demonstrating the why it's a war on the mind, Harry goes in. Hey, you're on your own. Ha 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 ha. Maybe you've got a belief. Ha 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 ha. Notice we have distinguished it's an axiomatic belief. Different. Trusting in the rule of understanding rather than to be ruled by belief. And only temporary, unlike belief, which is stagnant. Thumbs up. And ultimately, you come to just see it for yourself. But you have to be open to it to play the game. Joseph says, "Hey, you're right there, Harry. More than you know." Well, we know. By the way, it's not prejudice, isn't it? It's axiom. Anyway, you're right there, Harry. More than you know. Aaliyah here is raising the whole issue of what it is to be enlightened. Or wise. Oh, we're bringing the two worlds together. Wisdom, the term we use here to define philosophy that is understandable. These two together, this realm, with the Eastern term for it, enlightenment. So we're adding understanding to the game. Hey, Aaliyah's raising the whole issue of what it is to be enlightened or wise. And for me, I really don't know if it covers that, Aaliyah says. I've heard talk about enlightenment, read a little about it, These pure states of consciousness sound good, and maybe I'm strange, but I think, or maybe I believe, or maybe I know, that if I were enlightened and couldn't answer these questions of mine, I wouldn't think too highly of it. Wow. That's a sentence. I'm not saying it wouldn't be great to be enlightened, but I want to be enlightened about these questions, and I really don't think the enlightened have the question, much less the answer. Is that the theme of the whole episode today? If these are states of consciousness they call enlightened, how much is it worth if you can't give birth to these questions and answer them? Joseph says, "You know what, Aaliyah? I do believe you could even confound the saints." So what's he doing? Placing Aaliyah, that insight. Hey, if enlightenment doesn't bring these kinds of questions or answers to them, I don't think they're worth too much after all. And Joseph says, puts you beyond the saints. The saints or gurus who've all settled for these kinds of experiences or states of consciousness without developing philodianoia, the dialectic, and the art of philosophical midwifery. Did I mention this book's a banger? Holy crap. We're getting close to the end as well. Where is all this enlightenment talk and ranking what we are doing here compared to other traditions, both religious and spiritual? Where is it going to go? Where is it going to go for you? How strong will Harry's counterattack be? Will Aaliyah get into the game? And will it end with the possibility of you writing the sequel? What happens if Aaliyah gets into the game? What happens if Harry gets into the game? What happens if you ship Joseph and Aaliyah together? And there is an extra section after the story ends where we explore in further depth analogy itself. What's the role of analogy? So, lots of questions. Hey, these questions. Are you curious why you're here? And why this part of time and history? Are you curious about what this is all made of? Are you curious as to why understanding is greater and more lasting and more profound than even enlightenment experiences? Are you curious about why understanding may be the only way of solving human problems or burning off your karmic debt? Are you curious as to why those who've had experiences not only haven't solved their problems, but even play out their problems with greater effect? And are you curious about how your dreams will reflect those questions and puzzles you've been developing this evening? Because everything we've been learning in the text, we are wanting to apply to our dreams. Can you distinguish high states or enlightenment states in your dream from problem states or karmic debt states in your dream? Can you see maybe a role for understanding being communicated to you through your dreams to make sense of either of them? And if you are looking at the problem states, the blocks, can you see how they block this kind of activity that we've been reading? If so, can you look for a game that you are playing out within that block, within that drama, within the dream characters blocking your ability to give birth to questions of this nature, or engage in dialectic with the best kinds of people, the Elias of the world, in your dream? Is there a role you're playing within that block to those kinds of goals in the dream? Are there ups and downs that play out in that role? Is there a kind of end? Can you recognize that as a whole, as a game, parts to whole? Can you become curious about whether or not that game you may have been playing throughout your whole life? Does that give you an insight into your, what do we see in the text? The problems that you've been having in your present. And maybe through your past. Can you not only see the game and its relevance to your present and past, and how it limits you in this kind of higher functioning, but can you get some extra information from the dream, from the metaphors, from the objects, from the symbology, from the characters, from the words, from the states of mind, all of it? Can you get some clues into the origin of this game you've been playing? And finally, many to one, any clues about the one false belief about the self that you don't even know or suspect you have, that might bring together all of those problems into a one? And the origin of that belief and image? Can you appreciate, like Joseph, that is a relationship you'll have to develop? You might have little bits and pieces of insights. The more dreams you remember and reflect on, the faster you can move. The more people you can play this with, the faster you can move. You can move quickly like a rogue, or slowly and cumbersome like a paladin, but incremental development we've been seeing in the text. So that's what we're doing. Seeing if we can apply what we're reading to ourselves, specifically through dream analysis. And to play the game, you have to be open to the fact that problems are solvable, pathologos. Karmic debt is burnable, to use that terminology. And that our excellence is reachable through understanding and direct experience, wisdom. One more axiom we have to accept: both of those things may be communicated to you in the highest kind of way through your dreams. The third axiom: we need to play the game. Can you be open to it? Is Harry right? That's just a prejudice and that's just a belief and you've got a problem, son? Ha 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 ha, and you suck? Or do we know better than he knows that it isn't a prejudice, but a necessary axiomatic, so prejudice down here, a kind of false belief that's disproved by reason and evidence, but a kind of axiomatic belief. So let's add that third one. All human problems are solvable through the understanding and midwifery on the pathologos. Truth about self and reality is reachable through logos understanding and ousia or direct experience. The two together we are calling wisdom. And also let's move this up. The necessary rational trust in the rulership of nous and dianoia, knowing and understanding, needed to follow the logos and participate in the dialectic. Like we said, you need to trust that thing about traffic lights to be able to drive a car. Hey, welcome, Sus. Welcome. How are you doing? It's been a while since I streamed. It's been a few days. Busy with music. IRL music playing. How are you doing? So also, all problems are solvable. I'm okay, how are you? I'm great. I'm great now that you're here. Okay. I'm glad. That seems awesome. Oh, I'm glad to. So, not a pathologos, but a necessary and rational trust in the rulership of understanding needed to play the game, follow the logos through the dialectic, and eventually prove them for yourself. A lot of the proof we've already seen in that reflection on the difference between enlightenment, karma, and what we are doing through understanding. But we also need that both our problems and pathologos and our excellence, the self-logos, we have to accept the axiom to play the special kind of a game we are playing here on this quest, sharing it like the beginning of a World of Warcraft instance. Oh, I miss that game so much. Both are providentially communicated to us. No space. Yeah, up a bit. Through our dreams. Providentially, rationally, that benefits. So there's that third axiom we need to play the game. So, all of these things that we have gained insight into by learning to read in this kind of a way and learning to explore problems, test it out tonight or tomorrow morning after you've recorded. So as soon as you wake up, grab that phone, hit the record button before you do anything else. Don't don't dally at all. Don't worry about, oh, I'm awake enough. Do I remember enough? Do I have to go to the bathroom first? None of that. Just hit record and start talking. You'll be surprised by how much you actually knew compared to if you gave yourself a few minutes to think about it. You don't have to trust me. Try it out. Hit record, start talking. Anything of the drama, the games, the ups, the downs, the goals, the states of minds, the words, the metaphors, the all of it, the furniture. Record as much as you can. And you can test your memory by putting that recording aside and typing it up from memory later on in the day, and then transcribing the audio. And there are many tools that transcribe the audio quite accurately. You'd probably want to check it, but save you the time typing it up, and test your memory from the recording. And of course, everything that we've been learning from the book and our reading of the book, see what happens if you apply it to your dreams. And if you're lucky enough to have an Aaliyah or Joseph in your life, well, you can play the noblest game with them and demonstrate in this, the highest kind of relationship, demonstrate or model or reflect the highest kind of functioning of self and reality itself. Sound like fun? If you want to join the Discord, there's a link below. If you want to link to the text, there's a PDF below. If you want to donate to the channel, that is appreciated. If you can spare the money, buy me a coffee, whatever, there's a link below. And if you want to follow along in real time, you can join on Twitch or follow on YouTube. And I hope you enjoy your dreams. And I hope you're having fun. I hope you're getting puzzled. And I hope to see you in the next one. See you then. Bye.